Ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts because Atlanta just turned into a soap opera so messy it makes the Kardashians look like a family-friendly Disney sitcom. Word on the street? King Harris, or yes, T.I. and Tiny's headline-stealing son, has been hit with a final goodbye bombshell so jaw-dropping, even Netflix wouldn't dare script it. Doctors aren't just whispering about bad news. Nope. They're delivering updates so devastating, so gut-wrenching, it feels like the rap game just got a season finale written by Shakespeare on steroids. Family in tears, fans in shock, and the internet doing what it does best, turning tragedy into TikTok soundbites before the ink on the hospital charts even dries. This isn't just a medical emergency, this is primetime drama. The type that sends barbershop debates into overtime and makes Instagram lives explode faster than a blue checkmark in a DM scandal. But here's the kicker. The final goodbye isn't just about King Harris. It's about what it reveals. The secrets, the family fractures, and the unfiltered chaos love and hip-hop wished it could capture. And trust me, once you hear what went down behind those hospital doors, you'll never look at the Harris dynasty the same again. Let's rewind the tape because this final goodbye headline didn't just fall out of the sky. Nope, it's the product of months, years really, of chaos brewing inside one of hip-hop's most famous families. King Harris, the son of rap royalty T.I. and Tiny, has always been the walking, talking drama magnet of Atlanta. Forget Trouble Man. This kid has been the headline man since he could spell Instagram. From viral clips of him arguing in diners to full-blown screaming matches with his parents that make Jerry Springer look tame, King has carried chaos on his back like it's a designer backpack. The man could trip over a shoelace and somehow turn it into TMZ's front page. But now, the stakes are higher, the whispers louder, and the spotlight hotter than ever. So here's the leak that set the internet on fire. Word from hospital insiders. Yes, those anonymous cousin's baby mama's friend who works in billing type of sources say doctors had to sit the Harris family down for a devastating, heartbreaking update. You know the kind. The kind where even the boldest family member can't keep it together. One insider said the room felt like the last chapter of a book. Fans took that one quote and boom. X exploded faster than Nicki and Cardi sharing the same stage, and here's where it gets messier. The Harris clan didn't exactly help cool the rumors. Instead of calm, carefully worded press statements, fans saw tears on Instagram lives, cryptic tweets, and family members posting prayer hands emojis like they were confetti. You can't give the internet a half story and expect silence. Nope, they'll fill in the blanks themselves, and in this case, the blanks turned into a full-blown Netflix-style script. King Harris is saying his final goodbye. Now let's not pretend King hasn't been walking a tightrope for years. His public image has been this strange cocktail of rich kid rebellion, internet trolling, and genuine cries for independence. Fans have seen him go head-to-head with his father, T.I., in arguments so intense you'd think the cameras were rolling for a pay-per-view special. One minute he's flexing his luxury lifestyle, the next minute he's threatening to prove he's tougher than the streets give him credit for. But when news broke that doctors were preparing a final goodbye moment, even the trolls went quiet. Memes slowed down. The tone shifted. Suddenly, what was once a circus felt like a funeral rehearsal. People weren't laughing anymore. They were scrolling with their jaws on the floor. The timeline leading up to this is wild enough to deserve its own season recap. King had been making headlines for months. Altercations caught on camera, heated live sessions with family, and his ongoing attempt to prove he's more than just T.I. and Tiny's son. He wanted respect, not handouts. But instead of winning the crowd, he ended up in a whirlwind of controversy, with every move turned into a viral clip. Fans started pointing fingers. Did the pressure finally break him? Was this lifestyle too much too young? Is this what happens when reality TV becomes your reality? Every theory was thrown on the table, from stress to family fractures to wild conspiracy-style guesses that make flat earthers look reasonable. And let's talk about T.I. for a second. The self-proclaimed king of the South suddenly looked like just another dad caught in a storm too big to control. Cameras caught him outside the hospital, and instead of his usual confident demeanor, the man looked like he'd aged 10 years in 1 week. Gone was the swagger, the clever wordplay, the clapback energy. What the world saw was raw fear, raw pain, and the kind of heartbreak money can't negotiate away. Tiny wasn't spared either. The woman who's been the backbone of the Harris household, the glue in all that chaos, was suddenly posting vague, emotional captions that only fueled speculation. No one said the word goodbye, but when you mix sad music, candle emojis, and black and white throwback photos, fans don't need a dictionary. They know what's being hinted at. Meanwhile, King himself became a ghost on socials. No trolling, no posts, no clapbacks. Just silence. And in a world where silence speaks louder than words, that silence was deafening. Fans started spamming his old posts with comments like "prayers up" and "stay strong, King." It was less about the jokes now, and more about collective mourning before the chapter even closed. Hospital insiders, and let's be honest, at this point, every cousin's barber's babysitter is an insider, kept leaking more dramatic phrases. Final stages, family gathering, last words. Whether those were real updates or just whispers turned into headlines didn't matter. Once the internet grabs a phrase like final goodbye, it multiplies like wildfire. And suddenly, every fan in Atlanta, New York, LA, and beyond was convinced the Harris family was facing its darkest hour. The first reactions were brutal. Some fans cried real tears, flooding timelines with Hunter Pray for King hashtags. Others, being the internet's darker half, threw shade, dragging up every controversial clip of King, every viral meltdown, every time he clashed with T.I. The internet doesn't forgive, but it sure does forget how to shut up. One tweet went viral saying, "Y'all praying for King Harris like he didn't go off on his parents on live last month." Savage? Yes. Unnecessary? Absolutely. But that's the internet. Tragedy 1 second, comedy show the next. Still, the overwhelming reaction was sorrow. Even people who weren't King Harris fans were pulled into the drama. That's the thing about public spectacle. You don't need to care until the news forces you to. Suddenly, timelines that never once mentioned King Harris were now filled with his name, his pictures, and prayers for his recovery. This wasn't just a Harris family crisis anymore. It became a global trending event. And when something trends, it doesn't just trend. It takes on a life of its own. Conspiracies start. Fake news spreads. Meme pages thrive. Suddenly, you're not watching reality unfold. You're watching reality get rewritten in real time by millions of voices. And that's exactly what makes this story so addictive. We don't know where the truth ends and the exaggeration begins. We don't know if the final goodbye is an actual medical update or just another internet game of telephone. What we do know? The Harris family is in the middle of the kind of storm that exposes every crack, every secret, every messy truth they tried to keep behind closed doors. And let me be crystal clear. If you thought King Harris's diner fight or his clashes with T.I. were headline-worthy, you haven't seen anything yet. Because this so-called final goodbye is bigger, messier, and far more explosive. It's not just family drama. It's hip-hop royalty facing a plot twist so insane, not even the producers of Love and Hip Hop could have storyboarded it. If you thought the initial leak had the internet gasping, wait until you see what happened when the story grew legs, arms, and a full set of gold-plated grills. Because in true hip-hop fashion, the final goodbye headline didn't just stay a private family ordeal. It went viral faster than a Drake diss track. The first wave of chaos came from celebrities. And when I say celebrities, I don't mean your polished Hollywood A-listers sipping green juice in Beverly Hills. I mean rappers, Love and Hip Hop alumni, and internet personalities who treat every tragedy like it's an audition for a reality show. Lil Boosie was one of the first to chime in. And of course, Boosie doesn't know the definition of filter. The man hit Instagram Live with tears in his eyes, yelling, "Y'all better pray for King! This ain't no joke. ATL can't lose another one." Emotional? Yes. Helpful? Absolutely not. Because when Boosie cries on Live, you know the memes are seconds away. By the time he signed off, someone had already turned his sobs into a TikTok remix backed by 808s. Then came 50 Cent. Now 50 doesn't shed tears. He sheds sarcasm. Instead of prayer emojis, he dropped a cryptic post with a picture of a chessboard and the caption, "King's always under attack." Stay strong, Lil Man. The internet went wild, debating whether 50 was showing support or using the moment for another round of his patented troll energy. Either way, the post racked up 1 million likes in under an hour. Meanwhile, reality TV stars like Yandy, Rashida, and even Carly Red started posting long-winded Instagram essays filled with stay strong messages. But let's be real, the internet smelled clout chasing from a mile away. Comment sections lit up with, "Y'all didn't even like him last season. Stop acting fake now." Because if there's one thing fans hate more than tragedy, it's opportunists using tragedy for likes. But the real twist came when rapper beef suddenly went on pause. People who couldn't go 10 minutes without sneak dissing each other were suddenly united in a choir of the prayers for King. Imagine Young Thug's supporters and Gunna's fans actually agreeing on something. That's how shocking this was. And then came the memes. Because no matter how devastating a story is, the internet will always find a way to laugh in the middle of the funeral procession. One viral meme showed King Harris in a hospital bed photoshopped next to Tupac and Pop Smoke with the caption, "Heaven's Rap Cypher loading." Too dark? Absolutely. Did it hit 1 million retweets? Of course. Another meme took T.I.'s most famous line, "Rubber Band Man, wild as the Taliban," and twisted it into, "Family Man, sad as the Taliban." Savage, cruel, and yet shared everywhere. The internet doesn't just cross the line. It sets fire to it and laughs while dancing around the ashes. But not all reactions were jokes. Some fans genuinely saw this as the beginning of a bigger conversation. They asked the real question: how much pressure can one young man take when his entire life has been broadcast like a reality show blooper reel? From birth, King Harris wasn't just a kid. He was an accessory to fame. Paparazzi shots, reality show cameos, Instagram trolls. The kid never had a private moment. And now the final goodbye headline felt like the ultimate consequence of living in a digital fishbowl. Of course, the conspiracy theorists couldn't resist showing up too. Twitter threads popped up faster than you could refresh your feed. This ain't about no hospital, it's a cover-up. King saw too much behind the scenes. Why do all these updates come right after T.I.'s business deals? Wake up, people. They trying to distract us from Diddy's situation by pushing King's story. Yes, you heard that right. Somehow, within hours, King Harris's hospital update was linked to Diddy, Drake, and even Beyoncé. Because in the world of online conspiracies, 6 degrees of separation is really just 1 degree of delusion. And if you think the Harris family had it bad, imagine being their PR team. Every time they tried to calm the rumors, they poured gasoline on the fire instead. T.I. finally broke his silence with a cryptic tweet. "God's plan bigger than ours. Stay prayed up. Sweet? Sure. Ambiguous? Definitely." The internet took God's plan and immediately dragged Drake into the conversation. Suddenly, people were arguing if Drake had something to do with King Harris's hospital update. Because why not? Tiny tried to be the voice of calm, posting a family photo with the caption, "Together, always." But of course, fans zoomed in and noticed she didn't include a recent picture of King. Boom. Instant proof that things were worse than she was admitting. By now, the outrage wasn't just about King Harris's health. It became a referendum on celebrity culture itself. Think pieces popped up overnight. Are we consuming celebrity pain as entertainment? One viral TikTok broke it down perfectly. "Y'all treat this man's possible final moments like it's the new season of Love and Hip Hop. You sick." The comments? Half agreed, half typed, "Okay, but when's the next update though?" And here's where things took a darker, twistier turn. Fans started digging into old interviews of T.I. and King. Every eye roll, every argument, every awkward silence was now repackaged as evidence that the family saw this coming. Clips of King yelling at his dad on Instagram Live were suddenly rebranded as signs of a cry for help. Moments that were laughed at weeks ago became cautionary tales overnight. Meanwhile, rival rappers who had beef with T.I. suddenly saw an opportunity. They didn't dare mock the situation directly, but the subliminal shade started dripping. One rapper tweeted, "Karma don't miss. Pray for the kids, though." Another posted, "Life comes at you fast. Protect your family." Everyone knew who they were aiming at. They just didn't have the guts to say the Harris name out loud. And let's not ignore the fans who turned this into full-blown performance art. Candlelight vigils popped up outside the hospital, complete with homemade posters that looked like mixtape covers. People were live streaming themselves crying into their phones, racking up thousands of views. One girl on TikTok literally said, "I didn't know King like that, but I feel like I grew up with him," before sobbing for 2 minutes straight. Instant viral clip, the escalation was undeniable. What started as whispers in a hospital room had transformed into a cultural earthquake. King Harris wasn't just a patient anymore. He was a symbol of fame gone too far, a symbol of generational tension, a symbol of how quickly the internet can build you up, tear you down, and write your obituary, all before doctors even finish their rounds. And through it all, One chilling question kept echoing through the noise. Is this really the final goodbye? Because if the Harris family thought they were drowning before, they were about to realize this was only the second wave of the tsunami. By the time the final goodbye headlines reached their peak, the Harris family wasn't just living through a crisis. They were starring in the biggest reality show the internet never asked for. And here's the kicker. Nobody had to tune into VH1 or Hulu. The whole season was happening live, raw and unfiltered, courtesy of social media timelines. But as the dust began to settle, if you can call a storm of hashtags and hot takes settling, the real aftermath hit like a sucker punch. The Harris family's reputation? Shaken to its core. T.I., the man who built his brand on strength, hustle, and Southern royalty, suddenly looked vulnerable in a way fans weren't ready for. The swaggering king of the South was now just dad in despair. His face, once the picture of confidence, was splashed across blogs looking broken, worried, and out of control. And in hip-hop, looking out of control is blood in the water. Rivals smelled it. Opportunists tweeted it. The industry talked about it behind closed doors. Tiny's brand took a different kind of hit. She was always the rock, the glue, the one fans saw as the most genuine. But now critics accused her of enabling chaos in the family, the soft hand that let King spiral out of control. Some even resurfaced old clips from Family Hustle and said, see, the warning signs were there. Tiny was too nice, T.I. was too strict. The kid never stood a chance. Boom. The narrative shifted from sympathy to blame faster than you can double-tap a post. And poor King? He became both the victim and the villain in this saga. To some, he was the tragic child of fame, a reminder that money doesn't heal wounds. To others, he was the rebellious son who mocked his parents on live, courted the streets, and now was paying the price. The internet loves nothing more than turning someone into both martyr and menace at the same time. King Harris was now locked in that paradox forever. The final goodbye rumors created ripple effects in the industry too. Suddenly, other celebrity parents were being asked awkward questions. How are you protecting your kids from fame? Became the hot topic at every red carpet. Diddy, already drowning in scandal, was dragged into side-by-side think pieces. T.I. versus Diddy, fathers, fame and their children's demons. Even Will and Jada, who were probably hoping to recover from their own family circus, got tossed into the debate. Is Jaden Smith next? Is Willow okay? The Harris storm wasn't just theirs anymore. It was pulling in every celebrity family like a tornado with no mercy. Meanwhile, the public's obsession didn't fade. It evolved. The memes that were once darkly comedic turned into tributes. Fan edits flooded TikTok, slow-motion clips of King laughing set to sad piano music. On YouTube, the rise and fall of King Harris videos popped up overnight, amassing millions of views. You know it's serious when commentary channels smell blood and start crafting hour-long breakdowns complete with dramatic narration. But here's where it gets even wilder. The situation didn't just impact reputations. It fractured relationships within the Harris family itself. Insiders whispered that T.I. and Tiny weren't on the same page about handling the crisis. T.I. wanted to shut the world out, silence the noise, and keep the focus inward. Tiny, on the other hand, leaned toward transparency, believing that the more they shared, the less the internet would speculate. Of course, both approaches failed spectacularly. One side made the press hungrier, the other side made fans hungrier. And right in the middle of this tug of war, King himself, the kid whose life was suddenly the internet's favorite open wound. And let's not forget the siblings. Zonique, Damani, Hyress, all suddenly dragged into the circus whether they wanted it or not. Paparazzi started snapping photos of them going to school, heading to work, even grocery shopping, as if they were walking plot devices in a family drama. Every eye roll, every tear, every no comment became a clue for fans desperate to piece together the truth. But the most brutal consequence wasn't the memes, the think pieces, or the paparazzi shots. It was the trust that shattered between the Harris family and the public. Before they were messy but loved, fans tuned in for the drama but still rooted for their success. After the final goodbye saga, the lines blurred. Were fans really praying for King, or were they just refreshing for the next update like vultures at a feast? The family felt the weight of being consumed, dissected, and rebranded as content. And that's the part that stings the most. Because whether King was truly at death's door or just caught in the internet's rumor mill, the Harris dynasty learned the hardest truth of all. In the digital age, Privacy isn't a right. It's a luxury, and it's one they lost a long time ago. But let's get real for a second. Did this whole saga humble King Harris? Maybe. Did it change the internet? Absolutely not. By the next morning, half the people praying for King were back to clowning other celebs, making memes about other scandals, and waiting for the next viral explosion. The cycle doesn't stop. It just rotates victims. Still, the Harris storm leaves us with questions that stick like gum on the bottom of a sneaker. Can King bounce back from being branded with a final goodbye? Will T.I. and Tiny ever get control of their public narrative again? Or is this the moment the Harris dynasty officially becomes more spectacle than legacy? No matter the answers, one thing's for sure. This wasn't just a headline. This was a warning shot to every celebrity who thinks they can control the internet. Spoiler alert, you can't. The internet doesn't just watch. It rewrites the script, edits the footage, and uploads its own director's cut before you even know the cameras are rolling. And King Harris? He's now etched into that history. Whether as the cautionary tale, the misunderstood rebel, or the tragic prince of Atlanta, his name is stamped in the viral Hall of Fame. So, was this really the final goodbye? Or just the season finale of a saga that refuses to end? Time will tell. But one thing's for certain. The Harris family will never look at a trending hashtag the same way again. Because this wasn't just a goodbye. This was a revelation. A raw, messy, savage revelation that fame doesn't just come with a price. It comes with receipts, screenshots, and millions of people ready to cash in on your pain. And the internet? Well, the internet never forgets. And there you have it. The circus, the chaos, the heartbreak, and the headlines that turned King Harris's life into the internet's favorite binge watch. But don't think for 1 second that this story is over. Oh no, fam. If history has taught us anything, it's that celebrity scandals age like milk left out in Atlanta heat. Fast, sour, and stinking up every corner of the timeline. So here's what I need from you. The real MVPs of messy news, smash that like button like it owes you rent money. Drop a comment below. Is this really King's final goodbye, or just another plot twist in the Harris family reality saga? And most importantly, hit that subscribe button so hard your phone files a restraining order. Because let's be honest, if you miss even one of these updates, you're gonna be that person who walks into the group chat late asking, "Wait, what happened?" And nobody likes that person. Don't be that person. On this channel, the drama doesn't drip, it floods. We're the fire hydrant of scandal, blasting the internet with the stories your faves wish would stay buried. While other channels sip tea, we pour the entire kettle over your Wi-Fi. So stay tuned, because if this final goodbye shook you, wait until you see the next scandal crawling out of the shadows. Hollywood, hip-hop, reality TV, nobody's safe. Not the kings, not the queens, not even the court jesters. This is the Internet Coliseum, and we're front row for the blood sport of fame. Welcome to the chaos. Welcome to the madness, welcome to Fame Flaws, where the truth is messy, the lies are juicier, and the scandals never sleep.